up, everybody? I'm used to like seeing the chairs like so like perfectly in rows, right? I'm used to seeing like so organized, and now they're all like weird and like scattered. It's cool. What's up, girl? Kevin, knock. There you go. Alrighty. Well, we have been in this series called God Is, where we've been exploring, we've been learning about all of these attributes and all of these characteristics about the God that we serve. We've been trying to learn about him and grow closer to him. Last week, we talked about how God is personal, how he wants to be your best friend, how he wants to walk beside you and talk to you, and he wants to be there for everything, be the one that you talk to. And today, we're going to talk about how God is jealous, which is weird because usually we think of jealous as a bad thing. It's like if you're jealous, then that's a really bad thing. But we're going to talk about how God is jealous. But first, we're going to talk about a time that I have been really, really jealous. And we're going to do that. I'm going to show you my very first car, and it's going to be up there. That's my car. It was really ugly. It is a really ugly car. I don't know if you can tell, but there's that like giant dent in the hood. That came with it. I bought it like that. It made really weird sounds when you turned it on. Like half the time I wasn't even sure if it was even going to turn on. That's how bad of a car it was. I would like put my keys in the ignition and like start the car, and it would make like weird sputtering sounds. I wasn't even sure if it was going to turn on half the time. I didn't know if it was going to get me from point A to point B, but it was a car, and I had to buy that thing all by myself. So I worked all summer. A lot of the school year. It was about $4,000, a little bit more than $4,000. So it wasn't super expensive because it was a bad car. But I also had to pay for my gas and my insurance. And anyway, I had to save up a lot of money, and I had to work really, really hard. And then it wasn't even that good of a car. And I got really, really, really jealous because all of my friends had really nice cars. And some of them either got them as like a birthday present, or their parents helped them pay for it, or they got like their old parents' hand-me-down, but it was still a kind of nice car. And I was so jealous, and I was so mad because I was like, why did I have to work my butt off for that really crappy car when everyone around me is getting really nice, really cool cars, and they didn't have to pay for them. They didn't have to pay for them all by themselves. So I was so mad, and I was angry, and I was so jealous of everybody else's car. And I got into this not fair mindset where I was like, this isn't fair that I had to work so hard. No one else did. Life's not fair. And I feel like so often we get caught up in this not fair mindset of being jealous for others. But this is what God says about our jealousy. In James 3:16, God says about jealousy, you guys know the drill, you read the orange words. For where and selfish ambition exists, there is disorder and every... Good job, guys. So this is saying that whenever we are jealous, wherever we're jealous, it's evil, and every hateful, evil thing is when we are jealous. Our jealousy is always sinful and always comes from this hateful place in our heart of being selfish and not having enough and needing more and not being content with ourselves. But when we say that God is jealous for us, it is nothing like our jealousy. God's jealousy for us doesn't come from that hateful place, of that like envious place of needing more and being selfish and wanting things that you don't have. A couple weeks ago, we talked about how God is holy and perfect and sinless, and we learned holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. And so we know that any jealousy that he has for us and for our attention doesn't come from a place of hatefulness or envy or pride, but it comes from his deep and passionate, perfect love for us. And it's because he really wants the best for us. Jesus doesn't need our praise, and he doesn't need us to worship him. He's not like insecure about himself as God. And he doesn't need us to be like always constantly praising him, but he deserves that constant praise because of who he is and how he made us and how he made everyone around you, this beautiful earth. I mean, everything is his creation, is his domain, and he deserves it all. So the first time we hear about God's jealousy in the Bible is in Exodus. And what's happening in Exodus, I guess what's happening in this story, is God has just delivered his people out out of Egypt. So now they're out of Egypt, and they're wandering around the wilderness, and they don't really know what they're doing, and they're super confused, and they're super lost, and they need some guidance. So God gives them the 10 commandments, these 10 rules to help them live, to help them follow him better. And one of these commandments is this, Exodus 24-5. It says, "You shall not make for yourself an or any likeness of what is in heaven above or on earth beneath. You shall not bow down to them or them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God." So, in that verse, it says the word idol. And for something to be your idol, it means you idolize it. It means that you love it and you're passionate about it and you're always seeking after it and you love doing it and you're putting it above God. You're idolizing it above anything else. But God, he wants your number one spot. He wants you to idolize, or for him to be your only idol, for you to not idolize anything else above him. He says this in Isaiah 42:8. He says, "I am the, and this is my name. I will not give my glory to another, nor my praise to," because he created everything. He created the earth. He created you. He deserves the glory, and he doesn't want to share it with anyone else because he shouldn't have to, because he is the King of Kings, and he's the Lord of Lords, and he wants you to recognize that position that he has in your life as the King of Kings, and he wants you to give that to him in your life, not only because he deserves it, because of how much he loves you. His jealousy for us reflects his perfect love for us. It reflects how much he loves us, and he's jealous for us because of how he created us and how he created us in his perfect image. And when he created you so perfectly and in his image, he knew every choice you were going to make. He knew every decision you were going to do. He knew what you were going to love. He knew what you were going to love in 10 years and in 5 years and what your job's going to be and who you're going to marry. And he knew all of these things about you, and he had this path for you that he wanted you to follow. And he made this path for you so perfectly, designed to you. And along this path, he designed it for you to always put him first and to always seek him first, so that you can keep following him and you can keep seeking after him as you're going through life. And there's a trade-off. So the trade-off is you put him first in your life, and you always prioritize him, and he is your number one priority, and he's your best friend, and he's your number one. And in exchange, the trade-off is he gives you all of his love and his joy and his peace and his strength. And even if you have like the most chaotic day ever, and you have like a million things going on, and something really crappy happens, or like you get a bad grade on a test, or you had a baseball game or a basketball game and you didn't get a lot of playing time, even though you totally deserved a lot of playing time because you've been working really hard in practice. And whatever happens, if you chase after those things and you're trying to put those things above God and you're trying to seek after those things to make you happy, and we start looking to those things for validation, we start saying, well, I'm not good enough, I'm not joyful, or I'm not happy unless I do really good in my baseball game. And I'm not content with myself, I don't like myself, I don't feel happy or peaceful or joyful unless I get a really good grade on my math test, or unless this friend is talking to me, or unless everything in my family is perfect. And we put all of these things above God and we start looking to those for validation. But when we put God very first, when we put him as very top priority, like he wants to be, then it doesn't matter what else is going on in our life because it's all underneath God. So God has control of all of it. And so then he gives you his peace and his joy and his love and his strength, even if it makes absolutely no sense for you to have peace, or it makes no sense for you to have joy because of what's going on underneath God. It doesn't matter because God is first and he wants that for you. He's jealous for that number one spot in your life because of how much he loves you, because he doesn't want you to be seeking after other things for your joy. He doesn't want you to be seeking after other things above him. He wants you to be seeking after him and him only, so that he can give you all the things that you need to get through your day, everything you need to keep following him and feel good. So we know that God is jealous for your attention because of his perfect love for you. And we're going to put that up on the screen. And we're going to scream it. God is jealous for your because of his perfect for you. He's jealous for your attention. He wants to be your best friend. And last week when we talked about how he wants to be your best friend and he wants to always be walking beside you and he wants to always be talking with you and helping you through what you're going through, it's hard for him to do that. It's hard for you to hear him when he's underneath all of these things that you're putting above him, when he's underneath all of these idols in your life. It's hard for him to talk to you. It's hard for you to hear him. It's hard for him to give you all the things that your heart needs when he's been stuffed under all these other things in your life. And that doesn't mean that you can't have other things in your life. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to give up your baseball or give up your friends or anything like that. But it just means that if they're above God, if they're meaning more to you than God becomes jealous for that top spot in your life because he loves you so much and he doesn't like that you're searching for your heart in other places. He wants you to have your heart in him so that when you do go through struggles and when life does throw things at you, he's right there as your number one and he's right beside you to talk to you and walk with you and help you through what you're going through. But if he's piled and piled and piled underneath all these other things, then he can't, because you can't hear him because he's so far underneath all these other things that you're putting above him. So what do you have in your life right now that's occupying that number one spot? Is it really God that's up there on that number one spot? Or if you really stop and think and you're really honest, is it something else? Is it your sports or your school or your family or your friends or whatever it may be? What do you have up there right now that's above God? What are you looking for your validation? What are you finding your peace in? Because anytime that we don't have God in that number one spot, we feel this empty feeling in our hearts. We feel like we're not being filled. We feel like our heart is empty because we don't have God filling it, because we're looking for it in other things. And it takes a lot of work. It really does. It takes every single day waking up and saying, God, I'm going to give this day fully to you. You're going to be in my number one spot today. No matter what happens, you're going to be in my number one spot. And sometimes you have to say it like multiple times throughout the day. Especially I know for me, when I was in school, I had to tell myself like 10 times throughout the day, I had to remind myself, like, wait, hold on. God first, and then school, and then all the other crap that's going on in my life. But it takes being intentional about it. And the band can come back up if they want to now. But, so, as we're going into this summer, especially because I know summer gets crazy, and you have some of you guys have 6 or 7 sports practices a day. I have talked to some of you guys and you're like, yeah, I got my baseball in the morning and then I go to track and then I go to wrestling. And I'm like, dude, how do you even have time for 8 sports practices a day in the summer? It's ridiculous. But as we're going through all that, what are some ways practically and realistically that we can still put God first in everything that we're doing? What are some ways that we can continue to seek first God? We're going to put one last thing up on the board that's going to help us remind us how God wants us to live for him. And it says, Matthew 6:33, but seek first his and his and all these things will be provided to you. So whenever you do start to feel an empty feeling in your heart, whenever you start to feel down, whenever you start to feel like you're not good enough, look at who's in that number one spot. Look and see if you really are seeking first his kingdom. See if you really are seeking first his righteousness. To see if, give yourself a heart check. To see if you really are doing what you need to be doing. To go through your day with that feeling of fulfillment and joy and peace. So we're going to pray really fast before we get into our last song of worship. God, I just want to thank you for being such a beautiful creator, for being such a beautiful, holy, perfect, deserving God, that you are just so high above us, and yet you still want to be first in our life, that you still want to have a relationship with us, that you still are always seeking that first spot in our life so that you can give us everything that we need to have our hearts full, that you give us everything we need to keep chasing after you with full force, God. And I just pray that we would always put you first in everything that we're doing, that we would always resurrender our hearts to you every single morning, every single afternoon, that it would just be a constant resurrendering, that we could constantly give ourselves back to you and let you take control over everything else in our life, that it would all be under you and under your control. God, I pray all this in your name. Amen.
Sometimes sorrow is the door to peace. Sometimes heartache is the gift I need. You're faithful, faithful in all things. In every high and every low, on mountain tops, down broken roads, you're still my rock, my hope remains. I'll rest in the arms of Jesus, come what may. Goodness in all things, yeah. In every high, in every low, on mountain tops, down broken roads, you're still my rock, my hope remains. I'll rest in the arms of Jesus, come what may. The Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. The Lord is my shepherd, leads me to still waters. He restores my soul. Oh, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. The Lord is my shepherd, leads me to still waters, and He restores my soul. In every high, in every low, on mountain tops, down broken roads, you're still my rock, my hope remains. I'll rest in the arms of Jesus. In every high, in every low, on mountain top, down broken roads, you're still my rock, my hope remains. I'll rest in the arms of Jesus. Come with me, come with me, come with me, come with me.
All right, guys, we are so glad that you came and that you joined us this Wednesday night. We hope that you come back, but as you go, one thing that we say here every single week is you are loved and prayed for and accepted here just as you are. Go and know that you're loved. Yeah.